I believe we are live tonight. I'm just posting the live tweet there, but good evening, my friends. How are we doing? For those waiting and currently in the stream, let me get the chat popped up here myself. Pop out the chat right there. Hide that. Perfect. How are we doing, Empire for Hire? How's you, my friend? Good evening. It has been an interesting week in Edmonton among Oilers Nation. Lots of busy week. It's been a busy week. A lot of change within the Oilers. A lot of new systems and just what happens when you fire a coach. It's time for you to kind of learn some new things. A little Huffy the Clown. What a Grey Cup! I did not watch the Grey Cup. Didn't really have much interest. I do have the Vikings game on though because Josh Dobbs is my starting quarterback in fantasy, and honestly, I think I'm starting to become a Vikings fan. Honestly, I'm loving the story of Josh Dobbs, and I don't know, they're an interesting team. So, a good hello, Oil fan. Good morning to you wherever you are in the world. How are we? Of course, we have OilersNation.com in front of us. We're going to go over some of the headlines and stories going around. I really want to talk about Evan Bouchard, and I really want to talk about Stuart Skinner specifically. The Grey Cup, I heard, is a very good game. I'm not a big CFL guy, I'll be honest. I used to when I was younger. Nowadays, not so much. I don't know, it just doesn't have that interest in me. I know it's a big Canadian event. However, the Grey Cup event back here in Edmonton a couple years ago was very fun. I believe it was in 2018. The Grey Cup festivities, fantastic. So, go to the CFL. Whenever they put on these Grey Cup festivals and events, it's for the host city. It's always a good time. So much going on around the city. So, where was it hosted this year? At Winnipeg? I don't know. Shout out to the Montreal Alouettes. I remember early 2010s. I can't remember. Oh, 2009 was it? Alouettes versus the Rough Riders. Back-to-back Grey Cup finals. Those were great football games. That's when I was really into the CFL, I would say, when I was more interested. But CFL is underappreciated. It definitely deserves a little bit of love. I think it's important to support the grassroots level, the local sports of Canada, honestly. That goes to football and soccer, the Canadian Premier League. I just think it's important that we show support to the Canadian leagues. We have the CE Bell, the CE Bell with the Edmonton Stingers, the River Hawks, all these leagues. It's important to show love because, as much as we'd love to watch the best of the best in the NHL, NBA, all these leagues, it's good to support what's local. It's good to have local competition. Is that the word I'm looking for? So, I went to an Elks game, I would say, a few years back, and they lost. So, but the Elks are always fun to kind of follow around just because they haven't been winning much. The rules of CFL are great. See, I don't really know the difference between the NFL and CFL rules. I'm a very casual football fan. I just like watching them throw and run and hit. I don't understand the rules. I don't really know the number, the yards and all that fun stuff. It's not for me, but I hope everyone's doing well this Sunday, this past week. It's been an interesting week. Trevor, good to see you. Bush is disappointing and Skinner is overrated. We're going to touch on this because I will agree that Bush is disappointing when it comes to his defensive play. But I saw a stat on Twitter, an analytic. I don't know how much you want to buy into analytics. That really stood out for me. I'm going to show you this right now. Overall natural stat trick. Also, I just want to give a big shout out to Blue Bullet Brad, who pointed this out. Evan Bouchard, in the past 10 games for the Edmonton Oilers, goals against per 60. He has the lowest, 2.11 out of all Oilers defensemen. Right behind him is Ekholm and Cody Ceci. Darnell Nurse, 3.16. Brett Kulak, 3.55. So, Evan Bouchard defensively maybe is not as bad as we're thinking. Is that fair to say? Because in the same breath, I understand where fans are coming from. I also get frustrated with him on the ice, where it's like you see a goal against, and especially when Bouchard's on the ice, and you're asking Bouchard, where are you? What are you doing? Why are you there? Why aren't you there? Why aren't you putting more muscle on this guy? Evan Bouchard is a very unique, interesting case in my opinion. I like Darnell Nurse, don't get me wrong. I will defend him. I also think Evan Bouchard deserves a little bit of love considering the offensive numbers he's putting up. Evan Bouchard right now is becoming a hell of a scapegoat. People love to blame him for the issues. When a goal is against, I don't believe it's one player or two player. It's every player on the ice. Every player on the ice. Of course, one player could be more at fault than the other, but you know what I'm trying to say. Austin Hockey, good to see you, buddy. Like your videos. Bouchard has been fantastic since October 26th. I agree. I think that all the other D are just as bad. It makes Bouch look better. Interesting comment. What is lack is the lack of effort in these one. I will agree with that. Now, I did put out a tweet earlier today talking about... I asked people their thoughts on Evan Bouchard. Let me see. I was back here. I got 71 responses. Jason says, awareness. Being aware of the developing play and positioning himself in the best place to defend and disrupt it. I will agree with that as well. Stephen Brad says, not making high-risk passes in the offensive zone or neutral zone that are likely to lead to an odd man rush against. Increase intensity level to defend. Oh, I will admit the board battles do annoy me a bit. Our buddy Quackenbush is his give a fuck meter is not high. I don't. He's such a weird player because you know his body language. Sometimes when you watch him and he seems so far back than everybody else, and I don't know how to defend that. That's my issue, right? Because you can look at the analytics and we see them here. His goals against per 60, lowest on the Oilers over the past 10 games, which is it is something to note. It is impressive considering his time on ice is 170 minutes. So Evan Bouchard is playing just the same amount of minutes as Darnell Nurse, yet his goals against per 60 is 2.11. Now, can I filter this compared to the rest of the NHL, all teams, for the past 10 games? Yes, okay, let's do that. And submit. So who have been some of the best defensemen over the last 10 games in the NHL? Let's take a look at here. Here, let's goals against per 60. I think this is a good analytic. Am I using this website right? I don't know. Actually, I think I can filter this by time on ice. Minimum time on ice, 100. There we go. So here we go. So very interesting here. As we can see here, Carson Soucy, Noah Dobson has been a hell of a player. It looks like 193 minutes time on ice. 100. So very interesting here. Very interesting. Actually, Sebastian Aho's in here. Sebastian Aho, the defensive. What? Very interesting. Let me get to the chat here. Sorry about that. Graham Goddard, Derek Ryan, baby, fantastic game. Anyone who thinks Bouchard should be traded is just a straight up casual and shouldn't have their opinion taken seriously. I don't think Evan Bouchard should be traded. I think trading Bouchard in any capacity will be a mistake. It will bite the Oilers in the ass, and I would not be surprised if Evan Bouchard goes on to win a Stanley Cup with another team if he gets traded. Remember Justin Schultz? We traded him. He goes on to win, 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins? I do believe we traded him. I can't remember what we got in return, but that's another example where, you know, you're going to give up and don't get me wrong, Justin Schultz, back when he was with the Oilers, he was a eyesore defensively. But he was an offensive defenseman. And, you know, I think Oilers fans just want a nice little balance with Bouchard. They want to see him kind of, you know, give a shit a bit more defensively. Sometimes it seems like he doesn't. He's very head-scratching. I see. All I know is pain. I think we are overreacting a bit with this Tampa Bay game. I think a little bit. Oilers did win 3 games in a row. They kind of got themselves back. I won't say in the mix, but got some points right on the board. What if we trade him for a good goalie? Curtis Moss says. I don't think we can really trade Bouchard for a good goalie. I don't think there's really a solid goalie available on the market to trade for. I know the Oilers were recently linked with Jake Allen. I don't think that's... I'm not giving up Evan Bouchard for Jake Allen, right? You know, I think that's a bit ridiculous. And UC Saros, I don't see anyone trading him. QF Pro says, Bouch is an elite defenseman. that is still young and makes dumb defensive mistakes. This is true. He's played 200 games, and I do believe the defensive side of the game, especially in the NHL, is very hard to learn. I would imagine defending in the NHL is not easy. He's done the mistakes. I can live with the mistake, but Bouchard seems like he doesn't want to make the efforts to come back. I totally feel that, because like I mentioned, there are times where you watch a goal against and you're like, where is Bouchard? Why is he so far back? You know, it's so where is the fine line? Lots of hockey left. I agree. Austin Hockey, a third round for Schultz, I think. I don't remember what the return was. Yeah, Austin, I like your takes on Twitter, man. I like that you're brutally honest. This fan base spent years bitching and moaning about trading guys like Schultz and Petrie too early, and I want to do the same thing with a significantly better player. There you go, Max. I think that's a great way of looking at it. Because, yeah, you can trade away Bouchard and, you know, another Petrie and goodbye. I think people are worried that Bouchard is going to end up like Nurse. He's going to have a fat payday, and he's not going to be living up to it because defensively he's not great. But then again, just the numbers Bouchard puts up offensively are very nice. I hope Coffee just makes a difference over time, adjust these mistakes. I hope so as well. Daki, sup? Glad to see I'm not too late for what we just started here. Yes, God, Bush is not the problem. The big problem really has been team defense. You know, defending as a 5-man, 4-man unit, whatever the situation is, right? And the goalies have not been great this year. I do want to touch on Skinner in a moment here, but maybe Pickard will surprise us. I hope so. Can't be worse than Jack Campbell. Like, as much as we wanted to give Jack Campbell love and see him succeed, it just hasn't been working. Evan needs to be nurtured and molded. You gotta remember, this kid has some big responsibilities on this team. I do agree, Davin. And Bouchard, he's putting up the points. He's scoring goals. He's keeping this team. He's giving this team a chance to win, compared to some other players like a Brown, who is. Thank you, Austin. Thank you. Would Bouch be less of a liability if we had 3 other solid defensive? I think so, 100%, Derek. That's a great point, because I think a successful team in the NHL can have a very good offensive defenseman and just 3 solid D-men around him that you can rely on. Darnell Nurse doesn't feel like he's reliable. Matthias Ekholm last season, I think, was that guy, but you kind of want 2 more Matthias Ekholms, or to some degree of that. How about McLeod? What's he good for? McLeod, I have not been a fan of. I think he's been disappointing in the eyes of many Oilers fans. McLeod, he skates very well. But you want to see him maybe throw the puck on net a bit more. And he can shoot the puck. We've seen him do it in the past before. I was thinking about it. It feels like Ryan McLeod is like a faster version and a lighter version of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, where he's been good defensively. He's been a good two-way forward, especially last season he was, at least. But, we know he can shoot, but he just can't seem to create and generate offense. Right. And that's what we want from Ryan McLeod. We want Ryan McLeod to be a nice, just solid third-line player, someone who can maybe jump in on the power play and just... I don't know what the answer is for McLeod. I don't know. I think there is a fit for him on this team. It's just, how does Knobloch and the coaching staff really tap into the potential of Brian McLeod? So we've seen it in short spans. Kulak, I think, is solid on the D side. I think it was last season. I have not liked Kulak so far this year. I think he's regressed a tiny bit, and I think that's safe to admit that players do regress, and someone like Brett Kulak. I mean, how old is Brett Kulak? I think 28, actually. I think Brett Kulak's that old. Brett Kulak is 29, so I don't know if he's really regressed, but so McLeod and Nurse drive me nuts, Curtin. Now, I wonder why does Nurse drive you nuts? I can understand. There's been moments where Nurse looks awesome. He saved us against, who was it, the Kraken the other night? Massive play. That's what you love to see from Nurse. But Brown has been terrible coming off an injury brutal. I don't think Brown has been great. Although, who was it I was listening to? I think it was Low Tide. I was listening to 1440. He made an interesting point that Connor Brown has been very good defensively on the defensive side of the puck. So I personally have not noticed that. I know Low Tide has a very good eye on the game. So while maybe Brown has not been scoring, he's been making up defensively. Matt says Bouchard needs to get traded. We just talked about that. Like I said, if we trade Evan Bouchard, it's going to bite us in the ass. What are you going to get in return for Evan Bouchard? What are you looking to get back? Because you can't really replace that offensive production from the back end really with anyone else. Maybe Darnell Nurse? Maybe? I know Tyson Berry's did that last season, but you're not getting another Tyson Berry in return. What are you getting back? Kulak does show up in the playoffs. He showed up big time last year as well. I think many people refuse to admit two things that can be true when it comes to Bouchard. That he is very gifted offensively and he's very bad defensively. So, he's -5 Brown. That is 5-on-5. There you go. See, people see things in Brown that I don't see. You know, I'm hearing he's great defensively. I'm like, I don't know about that. But then again, a lot of it is on the other players around Connor Brown and the goaltending, and it's a lot of these little issues that are really costing the Oilers. Lance Kane says, stop trading young, up-and-coming D-man. I would trade Philip Broberg just because you need to somewhat get someone who a little bit more experience on the back end than Philip Broberg. Nothing against him. I think he'll be a great defenseman in the league. I just don't think... I don't think he has... His time is with the Oilers. I don't think his future... I don't think he's right for this team at the moment. Nurse is consistently inconsistent? Yeah. When Tampa Bay tied at 3-3, everyone was blaming Bouchard. They go, when it was actually Nurse who made a dumb and lazy decision. People love throwing the bus. Bouchard or Nurse. It's either or. It's either Nurse or Bouchard you always hear about. You don't ever hear much about Ekholm or Kulak. Darren A gets a lot of shtick. CC, I think, has been a bit better with Paul Coffey, but Broberg isn't right now. Gotta use him. I do agree. I personally agree with that. But yeah, I found these numbers to be very interesting that I'm showing here. 5-on-5. So actually, let's go take a look at this. So if you're just joining the stream, we're looking at these very interesting numbers. So at 5-on-5, over the past 10 games, Evan Bouchard is leading the Oilers in goals against per 60. Not leading. But as you can see here, 2.11 goals against average, Evan Bouchard. 5-on-5. You guys gotta move Brober for this late. I think we can. I just don't know when. Bison Mask Guy. Hey, how you been, man? It's been a while. Do you know who the Oilers need to get for the bottom 6? I was gonna say, Redeem Zahorna. But Joe Valeno's an interesting shout. Tanev would be ideal, I believe, as well. Here, Nurse is my second favorite player. I like to hear that. I love hearing Darnell Nurse love because it doesn't get too. I wish it was easy to trade Darnell Nurse. Unfortunately, it's not. That's also another thing. And also, I'm gonna bring up some comments here from Oilers Nation After Dark after the stream. So today, Madion says, if I was Darnell Nurse, I would be mortified that I'm gouging 9.25 mil from a team with major cap issues. I'm not performing the way I am. He should be the hardest working player at all. Okay, obviously I gotta read more there, but I don't think Darnell Nurse feels bad making 9.25 mil. I feel like he's someone who thinks he deserves it. I think Darnell Nurse, he's got a lot of confidence in him, you know. If you watch that Luke Gazdic interview, he's not a guy who's probably mortified about how much he's making. He feels like he belongs here, and he feels like he plays an important role, and he feels like he likes having that responsibility. So, although I found this to be an interesting comment as well. Dear Oilers fans, when you have the two of the best players in the world, and you come up short every year, in the offseason, you should seek to find pieces to take you to the next level. Well, I think the Oilers tried to do that with Jack Campbell. Zach Hyman so far has been a great signing. When it comes to defensemen, there hasn't really been anyone available, I would say. Connor Brown seemed like to be a good offseason pickup at the time. So I think in the offseason, the Oilers have, for the most part, signed the top free agents. Jack Campbell was a top goaltending free agent. Connor Brown was a top free agent. Zach Hyman was a top free agent. We go back to Milan Lucic. He was a top free agent at the time. And so were a lot of, like, Kyle. I remember that. Does anyone remember 2016? Where we signed Milan Lucic. And I think Kyle Okposo, Andrew Ladd, a few other players who were, like, power forwards also got big paydays. And none of them have really panned out. Really weird. Hello, Ace, by the way. Good to see you. We love Nurse. We don't love the contract. Yes, Curtis. I like the way you put that. Bouchard isn't good as everyone thinks he is, or projects he is. No, I think he is, Matt. I think he's putting up great numbers, and even think about it, like, Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are not performing well this year, and Evan Bouchard is still putting up offensive numbers. I think that says something. If this team had proper D, the top dogs having a slump wouldn't be a real problem. I agree. Team D, I think. Team D? Bouchard doesn't need to get traded. He just needs to play more to develop. Nurse was in the same situation as Bouchard, except hasn't proved himself to be anywhere near to. I don't think. I will honestly agree with that with Darnell Nurse, because as much as I want to defend Darnell Nurse, it is hard. Like, the one player that's making around the same amount of him that is playing well as the top two D-man is Dougie Hamilton. Zach Werenski, is he better or worse than Darnell Nurse? Is Seth Jones better or worse than Darnell Nurse? Because they all make similar amount of money. I'd probably, Matt. I will agree with you on that. The Jack Campbell signing has aged terribly. So, yeah, Michael. McDavid, we don't really know what's going on with him. Is he hurt? Most likely. But, oh yeah, Evan Bouchard's shot is just fun to watch. He is fun to watch. Can we gaslight Tarasenko to come play for us for cheaper? Wouldn't be a bad pickup. And yeah, whenever someone does bring up, like, oh, the Oilers need a better shutdown defenseman and whatnot, I'm like, okay, who is that player? Like, who's available right there? Which team is gonna give it? Like, to be honest, I didn't expect the Oilers to go for Matthias Ekholm. That's a trade I totally didn't. I didn't even think Matthias Ekholm was an idea. Like, oh, the Oilers should go get Matthias Ekholm. I never thought about that. And then he came and he was a breath of fresh air on the blue line when he first joined. And this year, unfortunately, he had an injury and couldn't play preseason. So I think that also hurt the Oilers. But I'm a huge Jack Campbell fan. I was really excited when he signed with us. Heartbroken with what is going on. Yeah, with Jack Campbell in Toronto was interesting because I believe he had a decent playoff run in that, I think 7-game series they had. He was okay. He put up some unreal numbers before he got hurt in that season, and then once he got back from injury, he wasn't really performing up to that standard. And then you would think, going into that off season that he would heal up, be just ready to be the goalie that the Oilers needed, and he just hasn't. So why is Barry better? Seems like actually I'm not. Is Barry better? Was Barry better than Bouchard? I think they played a similar role. Simply put, this Oilers isn't built to defend. This is an offensive team that relies. There you go. I think that's a great way. Sheridan put it really well. This Oilers team isn't built to defend. This is an offensive team that heavily relies on McDavid and Draisaitl, which falls in the rest of the roster to play their style. Yeah, I do agree. I remember when I was on Oilers Nation Radio and I asked the boys what made the Oilers a cup contender, and they said McDavid and Draisaitl, and that everyone around them just compliment. And I'm like, I could see where they're coming from, but right now we're seeing what happens when McDavid and Draisaitl don't produce. And the game against Tampa Bay sucked because we got a goal from James Hamblin, beautiful moment, 2 from Derek Ryan, and a goal from Evan Bouchard. 4 goals, a couple of bottom 6 scoring. That should be enough to win a hockey game. That's kind of what you want to see from your bottom 6. Just step up here and there, which wasn't enough. And Stuart Skinner hasn't been he didn't have a good game. I think Stuart Skinner's been better in the last few games as well. That's for sure. But I also don't think Stuart Skinner's horrible. I saw somebody comment on TikTok and like, oh, Stuart Skinner's horrible. I mean, he's not horrible. A horrible goalie does not get a Calder nomination. Stuart Skinner last season was a big reason why the Oilers, I'd say, made the playoffs. If it wasn't for the production of 97-29, Stuart Skinner really helped out the Oilers last season. Carolina has no reason to move Pesci. Yeah, why would, like, there are teams that have these defensemen that the Oilers need, but why would they move them, especially if they're trying to win a cup? How would a player like Sissons do for it? That's a great question. Go for Zadorov. I think Tanev would be ideal, Matt. Zadorov, I don't think Zadorov wants to play in Edmonton. I think Zadorov is gonna be very picky of where he wants to go. Skinner makes saves, we win the game. I agree, especially against Tampa there. Roster mismanagement has put us in a cap situation where building. So, do you guys think the cap situation is all on Ken Holland, or is it also just Ken Holland's team? Because Ken Holland, at the end of the day, does have the final say on deals and trade. Well, he did, not anymore. But I think it's Bill Scott who's in charge of the salary cap for the Oilers. So it's not just one person. I think, Ken Holland will get the blame. He's the figurehead. But I think it's the people around him as well that just haven't helped the Oilers. I think Brad Holland's been good. So, not a bad idea, Lance Kane. We score goals, we win game, right? That's how you would think it would work. 4 is enough with over 40 shots. That is wild that the Oilers are 0-5-1. 0-5-1 after putting up 40 shots. I don't blame Ken Holland for the cap situation. I blame COVID. Okay. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. The Nurse deal does not look bad if COVID never happens because, yeah, I think people were expecting the cap to go up significantly before COVID really did what it did to the world and the NHL, right? So the whole team is responsible. That's one thing I agree. I mean, to be honest, Stuart Skinner does need to be better. He does need to be better. We're putting a lot of pressure on Stuart Skinner, maybe a little too early. He did kind of set a standard for himself last season that I think we're expecting him to meet. And I think Oilers fans, like I've always said, have a standard, right? When you have the two best players in the world, you expect more, you expect better. And I feel like sometimes we get half of that. Sometimes we get a complete game, and then we don't see a complete game for another 10 games almost. I don't know. So, Evan Bouchard, it's just polarizing player right now. I think he's becoming way too much of a scapegoat. I mean, another thing I wanted to bring up is we have an article on OilersNation.com where it says the Oilers prospect report, goalies are voodoo. Yes. Because I think one goalie that comes to mind when we talk about goalies and voodoo is Steve Mason, the man who won the Calder in 2008-9. He had a .916 save percentage, 10 shutouts, 2.29 goals against average. Steve Mason, what happened? He put up unreal numbers in his rookie season, and he just simply could never get to those levels again in the NHL, right? So that's the thing with Stuart Skinner right now. Is like he had a great rookie year. Is he going to be able to replicate that in the future, or is he going to be able to take another step forward? Like Columbus, I don't think they were known to be a good defensive team throughout any of these years. Also, if anyone's living in Edmonton, is it raining or snowing outside? I don't know. It's really weird for November. So roster mismanagement, cap management falls under Bill Scott and Ken Holland. They had to find another defenseman who's better than right D. And Cody Cece's been playing better recently. Feels like it's not enough. Joe G, I think you made a great point there. We need consistent goaltending. We're not getting that. I think if we're looking at the past, 4 games here, the Oilers went on a 3-game win streak, lost to Tampa. I think we got decent goaltending up until this Tampa Bay game. I know that's a small sample size, but it showed me that maybe Stuart Skinner is getting back to what he was. Raining. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Great. We have icy roads tomorrow, I think. I don't know. Yeah, the Oilers are getting a mix of weak goaltending, weak defense. That's coming from the players. You know, the forwards as well. Like, we all know about. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw Gavin's rant. Look, Leon Draisaitl has been an interesting case. I'm not going to blame everything on him. I'm not going to just, shit on him. Leon Draisaitl obviously still leading the Oilers in points. One of the best players in the Edmonton Oilers franchise, but yeah, there are moments you're like, can he put in more of a shit? Like, he's an interesting player, Leon Draisaitl. I don't know what to make of him. I love his offensive numbers and what he brings to the team. I think his two-way game has been better. I think there's moments where it has been better. Hope your winter tires are on. They are, Curtis. Thank God. So. My bro's bro came back and won the Grey Cup. I'm watching the Vikings game on the side here. Oilers are doomed. I don't know if they're doomed, man. I'm not a doomsayer, to be honest. And one thing I've noticed with myself as an Oilers fan working for Oilers Nation is that I try to justify a lot of things. I'll be honest. I'll be like, well, Darnell Nurse, he did well there. Yeah, sure, he didn't do well then, but he did this good. And, that's something I tend to do. Amanda, he's a ghost most of the time. La-di-da, all over the place. His ability to put in effort outside the potential goal has been awful. This season, Amanda, I do agree with you on Draisaitl. He's... A lot of people, especially on social... Don't guess right. We understand last night was an absolute shit show on social for the nation. It was very interesting to see the responses to Gavin's rant. Because on Twitter, Instagram, of course, a lot of people disagreed with Gavin. But we had it on TikTok for a while. And people seem to really agree with him. That Draisaitl just needs to be better. And that this isn't the player that we're used to seeing. Zachary Fucali, that's a shout right there, Bison Mask guy. 100%. 100%. Who's another goalie that, really made a name for himself and just didn't deliver? Ilya Brizgalov? Oh, it was terrible, Ace. Yeah. Yeah, I feel for Gavin. He got a lot of shit last night. Unfortunately, people were taking a lot of personal shots at him, and we don't like that. We don't stand for that. We don't like that. So I think I remember Matt Pogue. Kind of. American Thanksgiving's right around the corner. If they don't improve by then, they are done. Oh yeah. Well, let's take a look at the Oilers schedule here. Actually, they take on the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow. I believe. Yeah, the Panthers tomorrow, actually. Sorry about that. 5 p.m. Wow, early start, by the way. Get home early for that one. They also take on the Hurricanes 5 p.m. On Wednesday, and very early starts here. I think what we're seeing from Leon Draisaitl is unfortunately a down season at the moment. And if we look throughout NHL history and star player, I think one player that comes to mind is Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin, I believe there was a season where people were wondering what's wrong with him. So Alex Ovechkin, what season was it? Where he scored 32 goals, 79 games. 2010-11. Alex Ovechkin went from a 50-goal scorer to a 32-goal scorer to a 38-goal scorer. And then he kind of came back to his old self a few seasons later. I wonder if that's what we're seeing with Leon Draisaitl. Where he's kind of just not finding the game that he's used to playing. That he can't find the lightning that he's used to having. That makes sense. In this season, Ovechkin put up 32 goals, 85 points, and he was still plus 24. Right? But still, people were saying, what's wrong with Ovechkin? Why isn't he scoring 50 goals? I love comparing the Caps to the Oilers because the Capitals were one of my playoff team when the Oilers were in the decade of darkness. And I think there's a lot of similarities to the way things have gone with the Oilers and Capitals because the Caps, I don't know. They were basically frauds up until 2018. Great regular season team, could not get it done in the playoffs at all. I think there's a lot of comparisons, and they had two big stars in Backstrom. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, it's just I'm gonna miss Friday's game. I think many people are. Totally agree with that. This season, Draisaitl isn't a player I completely recognize. Love him still, but man, it's tough to. I agree. I think he would agree with that as well. McD and Dry. I think this season especially, Draisaitl and McDavid have just they seem like they're trying to do everything and trying. I feel like defensemen are shutting down McDavid very easily. All they have to do is just stand in front of Connor McDavid and he's shut down. Like he can't go around them the way he used to. So maybe Matt's got a point there. I think a lot of teams have understood the Oilers' weaknesses and they're easy to stop. Gavin Rant was on point, frustrated fan. And you know what? I've said this before. If you're an Oilers fan, you have every right to be frustrated right now. Anyone on this team. A lot of players are underperforming. Fortunately, we saw Evander Kane pick up a hat trick this past week, and Zach Hyman. So they've been waking up. But it's really those two stars that we rely on. And it's like, shit, you guys are not playing the way we were used to. So you're saying the Oilers still only win one cup if they're lucky? Might as well start. Brudzinski might. Well, it's not the difference between the Capitals and the Oilers is the Capitals always had decent goaltending. I would say. McD looked hurt. Dry looks rusty. It's weird. Draisaitl should be at his best this year, especially end of next season. It's gonna be a contract. Do you think he would perform to get a higher amount per year? Oh, thank you for bringing this up, guys. I know a lot of Oilers fans are not the biggest fan of Mark Spectre, but Mark Spectre did put out a tweet that he had a. I'll bring it up. Mark Spectre, friend of the nation, friend of Jason Greger. I'm very interested to see what he's gonna post in the next day. So Mark Spectre, what's this her handles? Anyways, he had a sit down with McDavid and Draisaitl apparently. So Mark Spectre had nice chats with both Leon and Connor today. What's up or not with their current game? Not a subject we've ever had to tackle. So I'm interested to see what they'll say because I know Mark Spectre at the I think it was in the offseason where he had an interview with Connor McDavid that was really eye-opening. You guys remember that? So what's going on, TB4? Not too much. We're just discussing the Oilers and everything that's wrong. Friday's game is bogus, American-driven league. Yeah, I've never seen an Oilers game at 12 o'clock on a Friday. So these two are exhausted carrying this team. Their backs need defense to cover up ugly stuff going in front of Skinner. I would like, even Connor McDavid's defensive game, I would say, has been lacking too. I think his defensive game has been better. Like especially last season, I thought it was actually pretty solid. But even this year, I'm not seeing him too much. But playing the body against McDavid has always been the best strategy, and it's working big time right now. What is a retained Draisaitl at 4 point? What thing about that, James? Yeah, the Oilers drafting is interesting because once again, I was listening to Low Tide, and he made some interesting points. How the Oilers haven't really been bad at drafting, or no, drafting. I think it was scouting. Their scouting has been fine, but they just don't have a lot of draft picks because they keep trading them away. So. 1 second, friends. Also, if you don't mind, I do need to get a bottle of water. I am very thirsty. These streams make me thirsty, to say the least. I need to get some water, so I'm going to put on one of our podcasts or something. Let's see here. View your channel. Wow, shout out to everyone watching tonight. 57 of you in the chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Listen to Oilers Nation Radio, I guess. I'll be right back.
You're watching Oilers Nation Radio.
Welcome, Oilers Nation Radio. We're back in the old studio. Why? Because we don't have keys to the other one.
Which is crazy that we're still here.
You would think that after, how long have we been in this building now, Dan?
Officially, we've been in here since the summer of 2021, but the building has been open since 2020.
So about 2.5 years now, full-time in the office, and we do not have keys for the Studio B.
This is my favorite part. So I'm obviously the part-time guy in and out a couple times a week. You guys are here 30 whatever hours a week, whatever it is.
70,
obviously. Yeah.
I never leave. I live here.
I don't know who's filling out your paychecks, but make sure you let them know. That room, that one studio, this has happened before. It's probably been a little over a year or
What's
something like that.
What's the solve, though, Rick?
Well, that's just it. So there was an issue. Couldn't get in. Got us in, whatever. And then the team were like, you know what we'll do? We'll put some tape over here. This way, this will never happen ever again.
The team? Do you mean Tyler?
Yeah. Don't say the team.
The whole, I mean, somebody could have stepped up and said, hey, no, we should do this, that, or the other thing. But I felt to me, there was like a meeting, sat down and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. So there's a piece of tape over so to make sure the door doesn't lock anymore.
Very important to the detail is that it's green painter's tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The strongest of all tapes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I looked today, door is locked. Green tape's still there.
Yeah.
Somehow, though.
All right, I'm back.
Not working.
What did I miss? Did Gavin delete his Twitter? What was his rant about? If you guys want to see Gavin's rant, it was on Oilers Nation After Dark, so you can go back to that live stream. Basically, he was just really pissed off at Leon Draisaitl, and he kind of just says, you know, we expect more, we want to see more, we know we can see more from Leon Draisaitl, and he's just like hasn't been a big fan of his back checking, his effort, and yeah, he deleted his Twitter because a lot of people were going after him. He ended up blocking a bunch of people. He just wasn't having a good time on Twitter, to say the least. So. Yeah, you know, Gavin, he's a young lad. He's talented for sure, I think, and unfortunately, social media can be very toxic. So, yeah, I don't think the Oilers will be trading Leon Draisaitl. To be honest, I don't think many people want to believe it, but Draisaitl does want to be a part of the solution. Wants to win a cup here. I think he would probably regret it big time if he didn't win a cup with the Edmonton Oilers. What do you think will happen next game tomorrow? Tomorrow we play the Florida Panthers, actually. Let's take a look at the Florida Panthers real quick in the standings. Florida Panthers at the moment are second in the Atlantic, 11-5-1. So this is going to be a massive test for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, I think the best team they played up until this point is maybe the Vancouver Canucks. Right? The Canucks have been great. They've been a wagon for the most part. No, we played the Rangers, actually. Never mind. The Rangers were very good. So, this will be a good test for the Oilers. 97 has been uncharacteristically losing the puck to the opposition. It's strange to watch. Oh, it's been a headache. I'm like, this is not the Connor I remember. I think someone needs to ask the Oilers how the Bruins can lose their top two centers. Oh my goodness, what did you guys think of the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins? Ryan Whitney on Spin Chicklets said, you know, maybe the Oilers need to part ways with Nuge and try to get a defense. Trading Nuge, like somebody made a good point. Like he's our Bergeron, right? Like we don't want to get rid of it. It would hurt. It would hurt big time. Oilers wild card first round versus Vegas second round. Oh my goodness, that'd be wild. I would love to see that. I think the Oilers can get a wild card spot. I do believe if the Oilers want to make the playoffs, they need 95 points at least. So it's gonna be a hell of a season, to say the least. We're in for a treat of a season in terms of where we're gonna go. The same people talking ish to Gavin probably also said similar things about Draisaitl this season. Talking. Well, I would say Twitter is, as someone who basically manages the social media accounts for the Oilers Nation, you know, we also have multiple different people on the Twitter, for those that don't know. But Instagram, TikTok, I run a lot of the socials, right? And I find that Twitter is the loudest, right? Twitter will come after you and they will drag you through the mud if they don't agree with you, or just, I find TikTok to be honestly less toxic than Twitter. Instagram can be pretty brutal, but you can also ignore those comments. Hey, Fadoon, good to see you. Haven't been here. No worries. I've been streaming on Sundays only, but we're doing good. Nuge overpaid. Sometime Oilers fans. Yes, this is true, actually. People think Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is overpaid. I mean, he makes $5.2 million. What's Nuge's contract? He makes a good... Nuge has a good deal. So, I don't think we're making the playoffs this year, but likely we'll bounce back sometime next year. I would honestly... I don't want to agree with you, Dacky, but yeah. The thing is, the big worry is if the Oilers do miss the playoffs, what's going to happen with Con and Leon. Everyone's like, oh, we have missed the playoffs with them before, but now we're getting to a point where it's like year 9 of their careers and this is still happening. Yeah, Sundays are for woes unless we play. And I think the Oilers do have a Sunday game this week. So I will not be live. I'll try to maybe find I don't know. This is a weird week, guys. Very weird week. Oilers tomorrow. Hurricanes Wednesday. Caps Friday. Ducks Sunday. So maybe I go live on a Saturday if I'm not busy. Either I go live maybe Friday night because it's an early game and I'll go after dark. James said, RNH said that the Oilers were working their asses off after the San Jose game. He needs to get his head out of his ass. That's the thing. The Oilers have been big time a lot of talk this year, and it's just they haven't backed it up. It sucks. Like it's true. Like they say all these things like we're working hard. We believe we're a hard-working team. We're harder on ourselves than anybody, and it's like we'll see. Yeah. So, Ben Chicklets are talking about the Oilers right now. They're saying Ryan is expendable. I don't know because he has a no movement clause, right? Nuge. So it would be very difficult to trade him. It would really be up to him. The Oilers would have to approach Nuge and say, "Are you willing to waive your no movement clause to help this team win?" And does he go to a contender and win it? It would suck. It would suck, right? Ken Hall. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. I actually have on TikTok. I remember 2 years ago, the Oilers lost to the Wild. I'm on the LRT heading home with a bunch of Oilers fans. And this one guy's like, the Oilers should trade Nugent-Hopkins for Carey Price. I didn't really say a word to him. I just said, yeah, oh, yeah, they need goaltending. Mentally, I'm like, I don't think Carey Price has played this season, sir. He makes 10 mil. How are you going to make that work? So, yeah. Well, James, that was the thing, right? That's the thing. McDavid and Draisaitl were the X factor to this team. The reason why this team was a cup contender is because those two were so damn good and above the rest that everybody else complimented them well. And now we're seeing what happens when they don't perform. Both of them at the same time. Nuge is a 10-team no-moving clause. Interesting. Keep Nuge forever. Trading Nuge would be the worst move this organization can do. I mean, we've seen a lot of bad moves. It'd be like trading Ryan Smith almost. I don't want to think about that, Ace. Why did you bring that up, Ace? By the way, if you guys haven't, Bruce Kurlock did write an article on Olivier Rodrigue. He says that Rodrigue, his composure, his movements are efficient. Olivier Rodrigue, he's interesting. I'm interested to see what he'll do if we call him up. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't think there was a future for Olivier Rodrigue with the Oilers based on, Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner. Like, you would think, oh yeah, Campbell's gonna be the starter, Stuart Skinner's gonna rotate with him, but like, how would Rodrigue fit into the picture? And now it's like, oh, hey, this guy's doing something. So, no two superstars can win anything with a solid team. Like, well, yeah, exactly, Ace. But the thing is, like, it felt like the Oilers did have a good team around them that it complemented them well. And yeah, the best sports psychologist. Oh, they've needed one for a while. One thing I would like to see is just I don't know why the Oilers organization, since after the 06 Cup run, has had trouble being good at defense in general. Like, let's be honest, the Oilers' defensive issues have stemmed for nearly 15 years. Same with goaltending. This organization has just been so ignorant to defensive hockey. They want to replicate the 80s so bad of run and gun, high octane hockey. And we've seen that with the McDavid and Draisaitl era. We didn't really see that with Taylor Hall era. Obviously, we know how that went, but I truly think this organization wants to have that identity of high octane hockey, and you gotta win defense. You gotta win championships by playing defense. So, James Hamblin is someone who can. Hey, James Hamblin has been a nice surprise. Of course, there was that beautiful moment where he scored last night and dedicated to his mother who passed away. But I didn't think he was going to get called up this year. I didn't know if there was a future for James Hamblin. And, he scored a nice goal. What else can we see from James Hamblin going forward, right? He's now scored more than Holloway and McLeod. So, hopefully Holloway... I think Holloway was due for a goal. I couldn't buy anything. Yeah, I think so, Tuxedo. Actually, we might have to try that in NHL 24. Flames and Oilers combined team. So, yeah, I guess, Lance. I just feel like the Oilers have never found, They've found good defensemen, but they don't have the systems to play a good defense. Like, the coaching makes it... We're also the most exciting losers in hockey, us in Anaheim. Also, last night, or yesterday against Tampa, the Oilers did deserve to win. It was a game where the Oilers deserved to win, and then against Seattle, the Oilers did not deserve to win, and they still got a win. So we kind of saw the best and worst case scenarios this week. I'm not sure why Lavoie went down. I guess they just didn't see enough out of him. I don't know. Lavoie, I feel like it's going to be a rotating case where he's going to be up and down, up and down. A lot of air miles are going to be logged on that card. Gerald Case's Old Boys Club. If I were the owner, I would encourage of changing the organization around modern hockey. I think that's what Jeff Jackson wants to do, to be honest. I think that's what Jeff Jackson's going to try and do, because I brought this up in one of my streams. Jeff Jackson has said how he wants the Oilers to be best in class in everything they do. So analytics, coaching, everything. We'll see how long that takes to be applied, right? We saw one analytical move this past summer. Not sure if it's going to pan out, but they saw enough. I don't know why they like Adam Ernie. Maybe they like Adam Ernie because of his NHL experience. But, yeah. It has been annoying for sure. Anything else going on around the Oilers? I know NHL Sid actually 2 days ago put out an article. A deep dive into the areas where Chris Knobloch can improve the Oilers and areas where management must address. Which is a great article because, yeah, let's be honest, the coaching can only do so much. Nick Bukestad. Interesting name to bring up. I was listening to Chedla yesterday and Rob Brown. I love Rob Brown, by the way. I think the guy just is an absolute genius when it comes to hockey. I think everything he says is gold. I don't think I've ever actually disagreed with Rob Brown. Anyways, somebody asked on the phone. He's like, "Hey, How much are the Oilers missing? He's like, oh, the Oilers are not missing Costin, and if they're missing anyone from last season who left, it's probably Nick Bukestad, who's playing pretty well with the Arizona Coyotes again. The only issue is if Nick Bukestad was on this team, is he probably wouldn't be getting power play time in the same amount of minutes he's getting with Arizona, right? Klim Kostin, I think, is not playing like a $2 million player with Detroit. He plays maybe 8 minutes a night. I think he has a goal or two. Like, Klim Kostin's not been the player with Detroit that we saw with the Oilers. More dead weight. Why not? Great. You got to start somewhere. Imagine the Oilers win a cup before GTA 6. Holy shit, that would be amazing. What an original idea, Jeff Jackson. No team has ever thought of best. That's actually funny. Our puck luck turned good on the Darren own goal miss. It turned bad against the lame last game off the echo. That was bullshit. I think people expected more from Skinner on that play as well. Hey, I respect I love 1440. Chad is sometimes fun to listen to. I don't like. Love 1440. Just saw in my chat, oh my god, somebody said, oh, Waz leaked the group chat. I didn't leak anything. I didn't go into the chat. God forbid. I mean, I think Oilers fans definitely miss Costin. That. What was scary regarding Knobloch is that he said the Tampa Bay game was the best game the Oilers have played since we got here. Probably offensively, I feel. I don't know what he saw defensively. I hope he addresses that. I hope he I hope somebody knocks some sense in the Bouchard's brain. Like, hey man, just play a bit better defensively. Look at teams like Dallas and Nashville. Why do you think their goaltending always been consistent? Maybe 2 decades, because they've always built around the defenders, and the Oilers have never done that. The Oilers have always drafted offense first, defense second. You know, it's the Oilers had what 3 first-round picks in a row, first overall picks, and they're all defense, right? But Bukestad was able to shoot the puck as well, I thought. Yeah, I don't think Costin has been that big of a loss as people make it out to be. Like, I think people tend to forget that, like, Klim Kostin was great in moments. Like, yeah, it's like the Oilers almost captured lightning in a bottle of Klim Kostin. Like, he would go 10, 12 games without a goal, and all of a sudden, pops home 2. Like, the playoffs, he was huge in that game against LA where he scored 2 goals, I believe. And that was awesome to see. You love to see that. But and then he was physical. It's just Oilers fans love Klim Kostins, basically. A guy who can score and hit and say what he wants to say. Not many of those out there, it seems. As far as I know. Yeah, I like what James said. He missed the Kostin jam. It seems like the Oilers just can't apply what Kostin did. It shouldn't be that hard, I think. Dallas is a well, Nashville and Dallas throughout the years have always had very good defense and goaltending, I think. Especially Nashville. Defensively, they've always been solid, like Shea Weber, Roman Josi, Matthias Ekholm, Ekarene, UC Saros, right? Like, that's a team for sure. I know they didn't like PK Subban to an extent, right? Yeah, I personally was not a fan of Yamo. I preferred Kostin over Yamo. I think they played on separate sides of the ice. Kostin was still more valuable than McLeod, yes, and I think the Oilers saw more value in McLeod and saw the more of a future with McLeod, so they kind of wanted to stick to him. So I think that any player showing a strong heartbeat will stand out so much. Who's the heartbeat right now? I would be very interested. Like, of course, it's the what if scenario. It's like, oh, what would the Oilers be like if, like, I think the Oilers might still have the same record if Kostin was here. But I do think McLeod and Costin so far this year have been very similar, except one has a goal and one doesn't. Hindsight, sure, but in the offseason, absolutely not. You don't let a third go for. Well, the only issue, the issue with Costin really was like how much money he wanted. I think maybe he wasn't worth $2 million, but my opinion. Coaching issue will not fix all their issues. There are certainly areas where the Edmonton's new coaching staff can improve the team, but I still believe Woodcroft and Madison don't, of course. Yes, line matching and time on ice deployment were entirely in Woodcroft's control. Again, Woodcroft's inability to counter that Eichel line that may have cost Edmonton a shot at the Stanley Cup. But while matching Bukestad against Eichel was highly unideal, even holy shit, this is a great take by NHL Sid. Darnell Nurse is getting paid $9.25 million. Cody Ceci, $3.25 million. If a defensive pair combines to make the same amount of money as Connor McDavid and cannot help your team shut down opposition top lines, can you place all the blame on the coach and ignore the general manager paying them that money? That's a mic drop right there. I think that right there really sums up why Ken Holland has been an issue for this team. Because there are people who do believe, well, Ken Holland's made this move and that move. He's also made a load of bad moves. Like I've liked the Hyman signing. I didn't mind the Evander Kane. I personally did not mind. The Duncan Keith trade actually pissed me off at first. I like how it ended up. Went to the third round. I know that wasn't entirely on Duncan Keith, but I like Duncan Keith. I don't know. I like the vibes. I know it's not a good argument, but I hope the Warriors go full rebuild if they miss the playoffs. I doubt they will. I think they want to try and, hang on to them as long as they can, right? At the end of the day, I just don't want McDavid and see Fadoon. There you go. Exactly. That's it. The thing is, McDavid and Draisaitl bring in a lot of money to this team as well in terms of, jersey sales, merchandise, all that fun stuff, right? So they don't want to get rid of them. Well, I think that's so many people tend to forget. The Oilers will try their best to keep McDavid and Draisaitl. Oilers need some vibe guys. Someone to build that energy and fire. I do agree. I don't know who that. Yamamoto was that guy. Was. I don't think signing Brown was a good idea, but Jeff Jackson got a bonus for Brown getting hit. Well, so they will not rebuild if they miss the playoffs. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna rebuild, obviously. I think someone's gonna go. I mean, Jack Campbell buyout probably would happen easily. I don't know which one of the top 6 forwards would have to go. I think someone maybe had to go. Like, I don't think anyone really wants Evander Kane. Hyman staying. You just like it's really tough. We're in such a shitty situation, right? Why is Kyle? I love the way you're thinking. Why are we saying the Oilers are missing? I personally don't think. People do think it's in jeopardy. But Wise Kyle doesn't make a good point. They're only 5 points out. I do believe the Oilers were in a worse position when Woodcroft took over. They were outside the playoffs. And they clawed their way back in. So, if we miss this, yeah. Where's the cap one? That's about my big. But another thing I like about this article is that Edmonton's bottom 6 results. Edmonton's bottom 6 was damn good last season. Goals for percentage was 55.2%, the highest we've seen in the McDavid era. This year, the Oilers' bottom 6 is at 37.5%. Goals for 12, goals against 20. Oilers' bottom 6 is starting to be a little bit better. We saw that with Derek Ryan and James Hamlin scoring. Sam Gagne's got a couple goals, but the Adam Ernie's, the Ryan McLeod's, want more out of them, right? So, yeah, the Oilers' bottom 6 last year was pretty solid, and that's why I was defending them last season, because they had depth last year. They did. And now the depth is also kind of just taking a step back. It's regressed. Has the depth regressed? Can we admit that? Yeah, I agree. I think Anaheim is due to have a slowdown. Anaheim has been, I think, exceeding expectations. Vancouver exceeding expectations. How did that DR2 goal night feel for you? Oh, well, it's great. Everyone was kind of looking at me. It's like, say the line, say the line. I'm like, Derek Ryan. But it was really good to see DR get on the score sheet. Funny enough, we were watching the game of The Office, a couple of us, and I was actually telling them, Derek Ryan, he's yet to get on the score sheet this year. He's been a little slow. He hasn't been the same Derek Ryan as last year. And then pops home 2 goals. Yeah, Derek Ryan. I love that last game. Too early for blaming the bottom 6. Well, yeah, the Oilers' bottom 6 isn't the issue for the record right now. The big issue really is the defense and goaltending combined together. Haven't been good, right? They've been causing a lot of issues. And I mean, it's not just the 2 defensemen on the ice, it's also a forward coming back to help. Just playing more like a team, playing like a unit. For the longest time, Edmonton was flat out awful with McDavid and Draisaitl, most notably under Tippett. Following Woodcroft's arrival in 21-22, Edmonton's bottom 6 immediately saw an improvement. Woodcroft's first and only full season with Edmonton, the team outscored opponents at an excellent ratio of 74-60, without McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice. While the team's depth has struggled against the end of the season, it cannot be ignored that Edmonton's best bottom 6 results in the McDavid and Draisaitl era came with Woodcroft behind the bench. Well done, NHL Sid. Well done. This article is fantastic. What else does Sid say? A hot streak was likely inevitable at some point, regardless of who was behind the bench. And it's quite arguable that Woodcroft deserved a chance for that to occur. Recall that the Oilers had a 0.780 points percentage in the second half of the 22-23 season, and ended the season with an outstanding 17-1 record. The Oilers The Oilers also struggled with some of their key players playing through injuries, which includes McDavid, Ekholm, and McLeod. Thanks to Edmonton's incompetent cap management and a 21-man roster, Woodcroft was put into a situation where he couldn't hold players accountable and was forced to run short. Finally, a big reason for Edmonton's record is their goaltending, as they rank near the bottom of the league in goals saved above expected. The coaching staff has no control over how their goaltenders perform. Does NHL Sid in his article say anything about Dustin Schwartz, the man that everyone wants fired right now? But credit to Sid. He says, I like Chris Knobloch. He was likely one of their best available coaching candidates, and from what I've seen and heard so far, I believe he could be a fine coach. Yeah, the Oilers have had 2 great coaches right now. The issue is the management, the cap management. A lot of issues. Article is so good, might click an ad. If we're to bring in a forward who symbolizes the expectations of a Selke nominee, oh my god, who would you target? Wow, I'm trying to think, honestly. I can't think one off the top of my head. I'm not that smart. But NHL Selke nominees. This year. Yeah, I can't answer that. It's above my pay grade. I'm very sorry. But anyways, during training camp, Draisaitl and Kane talked a lot about changing their game more sound defensively, and they haven't shown shit. They're literally playing the exact... I concurred him. Holy shit, you're spot on there. Draisaitl has mentioned a few times how he wants to be better defensively, and that's the side of the game he wants to be better. God damn, we haven't seen that, Draisaitl. Draisaitl, I don't know what's going on with you, man. Is it mental? It's probably mental with him, I think. I don't know why. Yeah, Kopitar would be ideal, but like I think Kopitar's been playing better with LA as the older he gets. I think Anze Kopitar has been aging like a fine wine. Same with Drew Doughty. You know what's interesting, AJ, that you bring that up? Oilers Plus. The last thing they uploaded was Heritage Classic. They essentially avoided everything happening up until that point or after. They just like, oh, let's just show the good vibes. Yeah, it's not great. Let's just not show that. Why not? Let's see how things are going. That's why I love the HBO 24/7 documentaries, because they would show when shit gets bad. When Bruce Boudreau absolutely ripped the Caps. He backchecked that one play. I was happy. So, yeah, exactly, Lance. Like, the storm and rain clouds of disappointment are too heavy to allow Draisaitl to backcheck effectively. Draisaitl is such an interesting player. Like, to be fair, he is leading the team in points. But where are we in the standings? The Oilers, let's go bring up the Oilers stats if we can. Well, I feel like my computer is very slow right now. I feel like my browser and everything is all slow tonight. I don't know why. So. I pay for it personally. I don't mind it actually. See here. Let's see. Oilers stats. How are we doing so far after what? Game 15, 14 we're at now? So the Edmonton Oilers after 21 the Oilers after 16 games, Draisaitl leads the team in points with 21 points. Evan Bouchard is second on the team in points with 16. Hyman 15, Evander Kane 15, McDavid games. This is so sad to see. Oh god. Even Nuge 13 points, 3 goals. God damn. And as you can see here, goal scoring wise, McLeod, Connor Brown, Lavoie, Janmark, Ernie. The Oilers' best bottom six forward, I would say, is probably Fogle, if you consider him one. Sam Gagner, 2 goals. I love Sam Gagner, but my guy has not been the same since that first game. I won't lie. He's been okay. I don't want to give him too much shit though. I love Sam Gagner. When Garlic took over coaching, Schwartz was upstairs talking to Coffee on the bench. Would Schwartz not go on roadie? No, I don't think so. I think there's certain coaches that don't go on road trips. I know Dustin Schwartz was on that Heritage Classic episode. So I don't know about that Dakia, but at the same time, like, I know Gazdic has a lot of friends on that Oilers team, but it'd be interesting to see, like, to know how he would know that. But where are McDavid and Nurse leading the Oilers in? Where are McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nurse leading the Oilers in the line? Gazdic is saying it's a quiet dressing room. It's tough, right? Like, I would imagine Brett Kulak's a loud guy. Ekholm, Gagner, Evander Kane. Yeah. Davin, love when dudes who aren't in the room talk about the room. That's what always I always get a chuckle when people like say, "Oh, McDavid's not a good leader." How can you tell? Sure, it's like on the ice, maybe his body language. Like, I don't know. People love to rag. I remember that quote from Vincent Desharnais in the offseason. He's like, "Oh yeah, I went to go apologize to Connor after a playoff game. That was a dash or a minus," and Connor's like, "I don't give a fuck, man. I just want to win." I wonder what Connor is feeling right now. Then, holy crap. Yeah. Yeah, I know Evander Kane for sure does not like to be quiet. So, by the way, if you guys are just tuning into the stream or have missed it, Mark Spectre does have something interesting dropping soon with McDavid and Draisaitl, an interview where they're going to talk about what's going wrong. For all the flack that Mr. Spectre gets, he does have access to the players. The players do kind of trust. It's very weird. Even Connor had an interview with him this past. Oh, I just noticed something actually. OilersNation.com, 2.9 gigabytes in memory. Why? No. So. But yeah. What do you guys think of the Jake Allen rumors? I know the Oilers are for sure. Let's go look at Jake Allen. It's Allen with an E, by the way. Jake Allen this year has 8 games played, 3 wins. 907 save percentage, which is okay, better than what Skinner. What? I don't know. I think Oilers fans would turn on Jake Allen very quickly. Then again, I think the idea behind Jake Allen is that you would dump Campbell's. Then again, I don't want Campbell going to Montreal. You will get ripped in. I don't know, man. Well, I'm interested to see how Pickard will play. Yeah. Jack Campbell. I mean, his numbers this year, as we know, have not been great. Jack Campbell this year in the NHL. He's only played 5 games. I feel like it was more than that. 1 win, 4 losses. 4.50 goals against average, 873. Oh god. Yeah, I in a sense I do agree with you, James. It's like I want to believe that they are good leaders, but Chara and Berger are on a different level of leadership, to be honest. So that Boston team in general has had a lot of great leaders over the years. I think Brad Marchand, a great captain, great leader. I think Mark Recchi was on the Bruins when they won the Cup. Another great leader. Tim Thomas, phenomenal goalie for his time. Personally, I think Tim Thomas should be in the Hall of Fame. My buddy Brett and I always argue about that. It's yeah. And like the thing is, as NHL Sid pointed out in his article, goaltending has been an issue for the Oilers. It's not just defense. Like, I know a lot of people say, oh, you can't blame the goalies all the time. Look at the defense. But the numbers have showed that the goals against, the expected goals against or whatever is not great. It's one of the worst in the league. So, yeah. A lot of the blame, sure, is on the defense. Like, even Derek Ryan was funny in the interview. Tony Broad was like, hey, you guys are 0-5-1 after putting up 40 shots. And what's the issue? It's like, we're allowing a lot of goals in? So, by the way, I think Derek Ryan is going to be a great coach one day. I can see him being a good coach. Honestly, I can see Montreal fleecing Kenny. I think Jeff Jackson will be smart about this. So, even Marchand is singular when horrible doctor though. Oh, I did not know that. Didn't we learn anything from Ted Lasso? Great leaders don't make good culture. Good culture makes great leader. Interesting. I never finished that Ted Lasso. Goalies have been trash since Talbot. I would disagree in a sense. You're gonna disagree with me. Mike Smith, I think, was okay. I don't think he was phenomenal, obviously. Mike Smith was a headache when he was a headache. But there was times where Mike Smith stood on his damn head, man. I think Mike Smith had back-to-back shutouts at some point. He had playoff shutouts. I think with Mike Smith, the issue really, his health started to become an issue, and that really affected his game, I believe. So. You don't need to score 80 plus to be a true leader. That is a fact. I would rather have Derek Ryan as the captain over McDavid. There was times I know a lot of people want like Draisaitl's captain. I've seen Oilers fans who would say like, "Oh, I think Draisaitl's a better leader. Look at the way he talks in the interviews." Schmitty battled. Well, with Jake Allen, it's gonna be a question of also how much can the Oilers retain in a sense, right? Like that's. So I was a Canucks fan in 2011. The Bruins team talk is hurting my feelings. Amanda, you know what? I jumped on that bandwagon and I cried. I think I cried. I can't remember. I think I really wanted to see a Canadian team win the cup. That Canucks team in 2011 was pure vibes as well. Yeah. When I was younger, I just wanted to see a Canadian team to win the cup, and they were close. So, I think when you're younger, especially like you're 13 and 14, you're a little bit more emotional towards teams and players. And God damn it, the Vikings are. I'll check my fantasy team real quick. Josh Dobbs playing a hell of a game, I believe. Josh Dobbs. That was see Schmidt. I think that's what the Oilers are really missing on the back end is someone really laying the law on their defensemen. I think that's why I like Duncan Keith as well because he wasn't afraid to call out players as well, especially a Bouchard or someone like Duncan Keith had a standard, right? If you weren't meeting his standard, he'd let you know. And I know he deteriorated. I guess as a player, regressed heavily in that. But I don't know. I liked Keith. I know a lot of people disagreed with Liam. I don't think it was the worst trade, like 9th worst move in the McDavid era. Ryu, good to see you, buddy. Trade Dry a few weeks ago, I would consider it, but his mind isn't here anywhere. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to trade Dry, so I think I'm too attached to him. The Vikings win this game? I don't think so. I think the Vikings are gonna. Frustrating game. You wanted Fogs to get. I mean, Fogle has been playing really well. He's been working his ass off. Warren Fogle. Keith was. I don't think that Keith trade was great. I think we should have retained salary 100%. I think Holland could have done better. But I also like Duncan Keith. I wanted his jersey, but then I felt bad because of everything that was going on in Chicago. I love that Canucks team was fun. The Caps, I always bring up the Caps. They were my playoff team when the Oilers were shit. What are you doing, Josh Dobbs? What is this? Oh, God, that was terrible. Terrible play by Josh Dobbs. So, yeah, it really doesn't matter who gets letters. Only the fans care and the refs. and the refs. Yeah, us Oilers fans do care. That's why we always harp on players and find a scapegoat because we want to win so bad. We're desperate to win hockey. Yeah, I just think it depends on how the Oilers want to offload this Jack Campbell contract. High skin, you think so, Michael Kerber? I don't know a good. My fear is that if you trade Draisaitl, you're probably going to lose McDavid. You know, that's my thing. They both will end up leaving somehow, and it'll be very sad. You know? Detroit was my team, and I love watching that. Oh, Zetterberg, Datsuk, Nick Kronwall. Who else was there? Nick Lidstrom. Like, though, Ken Holland, say what you will, he built a team. But then again, I don't think he had to deal with the salary cap the way he did now. And you know, I've always brought this up throughout NHL history. There's been teams that have failed. The 06 Detroit Red Wings, they had put up like 124 points that season and got dogged by the 06 Oilers. So, oh my God, Curtin, can you imagine the scenes? They're staying, yeah. Holland Oates were still success. Adam Oates. Am I missing something there? Maybe. For me, the Duncan Keith trade wasn't just a cost, but Holland's understanding of the value of cap space. When Ken asked if he should have gone Keith for, oh, I remember that. Yeah. What do you want me to get it for free? Dude, like, how do you not even retain any salary on that deal? Like, I don't know. I think I remember that summer. Like, we signed Nuge to a good contract. We brought in Zach Hyman. So, I mean, that summer was actually not bad for the Oilers. And when you look back on it, I don't know what defenseman was on the market back then. I think Dougie Hamilton was available, but we signed Darnell Nurse instead. Where is the mindset if they lose? It's not good, Derek. But I don't think the Oilers are going to lose the next two. I think it's a scenario where either go 1-1 or 2-0. I think this Oilers team has been definitely a lot better than we saw in the first half. The first couple games of October and whatnot. Like, I think the Oilers have been better. They have been better. They have been winning games again. So they're learning to win again, which sucks to say, but they've been able to win games that they didn't deserve. Also, shout out to the Jonas Brothers. Who cares? You're not keeping either if you're not winning. I don't know about that. Well, yeah, you're allowed to have that opinion, AJ. You're allowed to have that opinion. Right? I'm not going to say you're wrong. I think there's just that emotional attachment to Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid fans. Just, they want to win with them. They want to see them win the cup here. They've been best thing this franchise has had since Wayne Gretzky, right? Maybe even the 06 Cup team. Ekblad Montour come. Okay, yeah. Ekblad's an interesting case because I think he's had a lot of concussion issues throughout his career. There's always team we'll remember for a long time if they collapse. Like it's looking like, yeah. Obviously we don't want to look to next season already. There's still a lot of hockey to be played. And I think if there's one thing that should motivate this Oilers team, hey, let's prove a lot of people fucking wrong right now. Let's go and get a playoff spot and then go from there. Because I think Drew Remenda, I heard him saying on a show, like he's like, the Oilers put the cart before the horse and they were thinking about June when you're still in September. Pickard, I think so. I think Pickard will start tomorrow. I think Stu needs a rest. You can't be playing him too much. So, Adam Oates and Brett Hull. Yeah, played for the Blues when Hull scored 86 goals. Oates had number one assist. Oh my god. Okay. Good. That's a good shout. That's a good comparison. Obviously, Connor McDavid's, he gets compared to Gretzky and Crosby, but yeah, I see what you mean. Crazy to think that Brett Hull scored 86 goals. That guy was damn good. Damn good. Robert, yeah, I really don't want McDavid and Draisaitl and the Oilers to be the next San Jose Sharks where they have decent teams and don't win the cup. Right? Yeah, no, I've always been the type of Oilers fan where I care more about the organization, the franchise, and winning over. I've never really been attached to players. Like, when Taylor Hall got traded, I was sad, but also I'm like, well, if we win, I'd rather win than anything. I'd rather see a winning hockey team over a specific player being successful. It's Derek Ryan, I love him, but if he left and that meant the Oilers are gonna win the cup, I would totally trade that. If the Oilers got somehow Makar, Heiskanen, or Ekblad in replacement of Nurse playing, oh my god, that's a dream right there. Yeah, exactly, Lance. And McDavid, Draisaitl are still very young, 26, 25, soon 27. There's still so much time left in their careers. I think people tend to forget that they've been just so dominant since they've entered the league. I would have to wonder though, what lesson would these walking by the 8th also winning? Well, the Oilers, I think, in 2022 learned that lesson when they saw Avs sweep them and get to celebrate the Western Conference champion on their ice. Right? It sucks, but yeah. Am I not attached to Nuge? Not as much. I would definitely be very sad to see him leave. But ultimately, I want to win. You know, Sam Carrick. I want Nick Dowd. Guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up the stream. To be honest, I've been live for an hour and a half. I usually go for 2 hours, but I kind of want to wrap it up. It's 9:30. I had a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody on the stream. Head to OilersNation.com for more. Tomorrow we will have Oilers Nation every day, real life, back on schedule, no holidays. Yeah, I'm just going to enjoy, go play some Call of Duty, maybe some games. That makes it. I thank everyone for tuning in. How come Tyler Yuncher will admit we are friends? Great question. Well, this is attached to Schwartzy. We all know it. I am attached to Boardsy. Pre-gaming with Boardsy tomorrow, 4 p.m. before the Florida game.